Thank you very much, Mahesh, for being with us. How do you read this? Yes, existing things stand null and void. No service provider shall offer or charge discriminatory tariffs for data services on the basis of content. But what about that loophole there in which they have said content created by telecom operators, and Gauri can read that verbatim to you. But my understanding is that content created by telcos on their own can be generated and can attract differential tariff. That does defy the rule of net neutrality, does it not?
So first of all, I do want to think that this is a big victory for all of us out here and the people of India. It's a big victory for us to be able to say no to Airtel Zero and to say no to Facebook Free Basics, and a big congratulations to the entire team at TRAI for standing up for the people of India and against the large big ad budgets. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Now coming to the second question of the apparent loophole that is kept out there for, as I understand it, closed user groups. I want to study it a little further. The data is just coming in over my phone as I'm reading it, but I do seem to think that the big beneficiary here is designed to be Reliance Jio, which, as everybody knows, has its own internal content creation company and platform, and has many thousands of people working in Kanhaiya in Bombay putting together content. So somehow Reliance managed to swipe in and go and basically pretty much say, look, we can offer our content at a lower price to people as long as we produce it ourselves. That's the first one. The second one is really, I want to figure out, again, after reading closer, whether Airtel can be able to pull this off by saying, you know what, we're going to call Free Basics Airtel Free Basics because Facebook has now leased it to us and we now can put our name on it. So I really need to understand who is the creator of the content in each of these cases and what the loopholes are out there. So, given everything, I mean, we have run largely to a big extent. There is this one loophole. We'll have to figure out what exactly it means. Right now, it looks like somehow Mukesh Ambani got in and got his own way out there. But I do need to really understand what exactly a closed electronic network group means. It's not absolutely clear. I haven't been able to look at the regulations here on that as yet.
I'm wondering if Gauri is still with us and if she has been able to get any clarity on this one, because I want to go back to her because this defies logic. I mean, this does defy logic. If you are going to tell operators that there can be no differential pricing, how you justify the CUG or the closed user group, and how are you actually explaining that? I'm given to understand Gauri is with us. We also have Vijay Shekhar Sharma and Gauri. Before I come to you, very quickly, Vijay, what's your take? I know many people believe this is a victory for you netizens and people who have been opposed to any kind of differential pricing, but there is plenty that has been left to interpretation and plenty that has been left, the loophole, so to say.
Yeah, first of all, I think I agree with Mahesh and I agree with everyone that TRAI has taken an incredible step towards making sure that there is not a lot of misuse of differential pricing driven business pricing that can happen. So if you notice, what we are saying here is that Airtel can offer free music or Vodafone can offer free music. So telcos can offer the content which is produced by them. So I don't know whether they can offer content like music, which is technically not produced by them, or let's say some other services which are not produced by them. So what it may also mean is that telcos can offer, let's say, M-Pesa or Airtel Money and all other services for free because they are quote-unquote produced by them, which is what little uncomforting is in this case. I do believe that it's sort of not yet there if I'm listening what I'm listening, because it still leaves telcos to remain the competition of every OTT player with an extra biasing of what their privilege of pricing they can have towards consumer side. So I think it is good in an overall sense, but it is not the good that we probably expect. I personally would be very disappointed if in some or other way it allows telcos to create differential services by way of discounting the data charges to the consumer of their own services.
Right. Vijay, that's a very valid point that you're raising, but do hold your thoughts there, gentlemen, because I've got Gauri back on the phone line with me, and I think she's been able to manage to read the fine print of this and is joining us with more interpretations there. What do you make of this? This simply favors Reliance Jio.
Supra, we've been talking about whom does this favor since Friday, but let me read out the fine print of this order. It's
All right, we seem to have lost Gauri's line. We'll go back to her. But like Mahesh was saying, this does favor in Reliance Jio. They've managed to get in. How are you going to tell the two service providers? Is Gauri back with us? All right. Gauri doesn't seem to be there. But let's, Mahesh, let me come back to you. Telcos are free to offer lower charges for emergency services. What is that now, and how will you justify what is emergency service and what is not? You're again allowing the interpretation or the discretion of differential pricing here, aren't you?
Of the ability to call the police 197 or the US equivalent, the Indian equivalent of the US 911, which by law, even if you're not on a particular network, any other network has to allow you. So even out here, for example, if you have a SIM that is an Airtel SIM, but you're in a BSNL zone, you're allowed to make an emergency call. I think it's the modern equivalent of that. I have less problem with that. So there's a purist, super purist view, and there's a practical view. And while technically and theoretically there's a problem, there's in fact much less of a problem with that. But the big issue is how big is this loophole? Is it big enough to drive a truck through? Is it big enough to drive Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Jio through? So the strange thing is in today's stock market, Airtel and Tata went up, but actually Reliance went down, and actually it would appear that Airtel is not the big winner out here today, and Reliance Jio is a big winner. I do think that there's probably, I guess there was probably infighting in TRAI, and this particular lobbyist went in. But I'm in concurrence with Vijay Shekhar in saying, how exactly would you define what's your service? Is Airtel Wink an Airtel service? Then whose music? I mean, Airtel doesn't produce music, but they've kind of put together music. And if by that particular definition, they've said we put together music of other people, and they put together a set of sites called Zero by other people, is that an Airtel production or not? I still don't have absolute clarity. I do hope that there are watertight regulations that prevent this from happening. On the plus side, what you'll see is you'll probably see telecom firms will now be in a hunt to go and buy content firms. So for content firms, I mean, who had a huge issue in terms of and Vijay can talk about this during the mobile VAS phase, there might be a resurgence in prices out there because suddenly Airtel will have to become a content and entertainment company. But strangely enough, Reliance Jio seemed to know what was happening. They've been building the content team for 4 years, or that's some really long-range lobbying that they've done. So that's the one disturbing part. The clear part out here I like is the fact that you really can't offer commercial rated services, zero-rated service or differential price services. So it's a big win. There's a window left open. I still need to look at the fine print, and it's just coming through the wire right now as we read it, and it's going to take some time to digest on what exactly it is out there. Also, we need to figure out what the reaction will be, because some telcos have said they'll go to court. We need to figure out if they're going to go to court. Is this a done deal? Not yet a done deal. At the same time, Ravi Shankar Prasad once said earlier that he's going to take the TRAI advice and then decide. But is this advice? Is this an order? I'm still not clear yet.
Right.
So
Mahesh, just hold your thoughts there, because I've got Gauri Dwivedi back on the phone line, and Gauri, I will urge you to be in a good network area. We can't afford to lose you right now. But what's the information that you're picking up? And I quite agree with Mahesh that there's been a fair amount of lobbying that has happened, and the quarter that wants the truck to go in, and in this case Reliance Jio, has scored here.
Supriya, in fact, let me just read out the fine print on that closed electronic network. It says differential tariffs being offered for data transmitted over closed electronic communication networks such as intranet are not prohibited by these regulations. So that is very categorical as to the fact that closed electronic communication networks like intranets will be exempted from TRAI's order. And that, of course, is something that leaves a lot of room for interpretation. Of course, there will be some beneficiaries. Guests on our channels have already been talking about how Reliance Jio could really be the big beneficiary out of this exemption. Remains to be seen whether some of the other telecom companies or other players will actually move court or not. But one thing is for sure, TRAI's order on this very contentious issue has left a lot of room for it.
Across to the TRAI Chief, R.S. Sharma, who is talking to the media. I want to take it across to the TRAI Chief now.
I had shared in this hall itself on the day, I think 31st of December or 30th of December, the last date of submission of the comments, and we had extended the deadline, and thereafter we went ahead. So the responses were obviously different type of responses. Some had suggested that it should be allowed. Some had suggested that it should not be allowed. Some had even suggested as to what could be the alternative models of ensuring the access to the, and one of the concerns which many people had addressed was that how do you ensure that more and more people access the internet? How do you make internet available to large number of people? So these were some of the concerns and responses. We deliberated on these issues and actually deliberated for quite some time. As you recall, we had said that we'll come out of the recommendations by the end of last month, that is January. It took a little longer because the responses were large in number, and they also had covered a lot of other issues, and we had to process all those responses, and therefore it has taken about 8-9 days longer. But today we have come out with a regulation which essentially mandates that no service provider shall charge differential pricing on the basis of application, platforms or websites or source. So it should be not based on source, destination, type of content or the application. So that's the general, and we have used the term discriminatory pricing in place of differential pricing, because differential pricing in that paper had a particular context. This is discriminatory, so we call it discriminatory. And essentially what we are saying that the packets on internet, the pipes should not sort of decide, pipes should be agnostic to the packets in the internet. So that's broadly the principle, and from a tariff perspective, this is what we have decided. We have also sort of made exceptions or exemptions in case of grave emergencies where differential pricing could be offered in case of grave emergencies. That's what we had made that exception. We have also made exception in case of closed networks which are not internet. Actually, we didn't need to say that, but for the sake of clarity, anything on internet cannot be differentially priced. That's the broad point which we have made in the regulation. So that's where it stands, and this regulation comes into effect from its publication in the Gazette, which should happen probably today, or it's already been done. It's already been done. So that's where we stand. This actually will disallow any sort of program or project which actually works on the architecture of differential pricing. That's how. And of course there are savings, which means that if there are such plans in action or some vouchers or some, what do you call it, tariff plans which are among the consumers, then we should allow those tariff plans to expire, in the sense that they should be allowed to use those plans in case these plans are in contravention of this, because we want to protect the interests of the consumers for enjoying the sort of fruits of those particular plans. They should not lose out money in that. That's what I think the saving is. We are also saying that in any case, even if there are continuing things, the validity will not be beyond 6 months. So that's actually the sunset kind of situation of the existing plans which are in operation. So that's what I had to say in case
No, I think it has been clarified that anything on internet need to be not be differentiated at all. Closed network, they can take care to give their content. Unless they also want to copy the same, get the same result as if they are trying to make on internet. So that is that if they try to tie up with any content provider giving the same effect, then it may not be applicable on the closed network also.
In fact, we have said just to supplement what Mr. Kaushal had made out, is essentially everything on internet is agnostic, in the sense that it cannot be priced differentially. We have also said that if somebody in the sort of tries to beat this regulation by claiming that this is not on internet, then there is a clause which says that the TRAI will determine whether this particular attempt is being made to kind of violate these instructions, violate these provisions. So that way, there is if somebody comes up with a very innovative idea that this is not on internet and tries to defeat the purpose of the regulations, there is a clause which actually will attract the TRAI's intervention. So that's there.
What intervention?
I mean, TRAI will determine whether this is in contravention of the discriminatory pricing or not. That intervention means that only that if there is something which is brought to the notice of TRAI saying that this particular plan is claiming to be not on internet, but in fact it is essentially a device or a mechanism to defeat the purpose of the provisions or the regulation, then TRAI will be able to determine and make a determination and figure out as to whether this is being done purely with a view to contradict or violate or somehow find a way out to violate these instructions.
What is the
No, let me. With that, just a minute. With that, I conclude what I wanted to say. Now, maybe we can start from this side and ask questions.
So have you defined what are the emergency services on which the exemption is made?
No, we have not defined, and we have also not said that any operator will have to, get a prior permission, because these grave emergencies. What is the term which we have used? Grave emergencies. This is, commonly understood situation, and this is one-off situation. It's not a continuing situation. So, suppose, let's say, Chennai floods came, and data services also. Chennai's floods came, and somebody said that I will provide the internet access or data access there free of cost for that particular period of time. That's fair enough. So that these situations, but they have to report to us after 7 days of introducing this. Within 7 days of introducing this, to actually submit to us, because in any case, every tariff plan as per the TRAI Act has got to be submitted to TRAI. So this is also in a way emergency exemption. If they give, this also has to be submitted to TRAI within 7 weeks of their handling. 7 days.
working days.
Please identify yourself and your organization first.
No, just a minute. Ek karke bhai. I said this. No, this will not work. We'll have. Let us have this.
Can telcos offer discounted pricing on their own content?
Everything which is not on internet is not the subject matter of this regulation. Everything which is on internet is the subject matter of this regulation. So let's be very clear. Yeah. Yes, and please, this line, anybody?
Mega Cognizance.
Yeah.
Proceed.
I have a question.
No, just hold on. Yes, proceed.
Sir,
Identify yourself.
Prasoon from PTI. Sir, you have asked ARCOM to put Facebook on hold, but now that was in force, that was in practice. Will that be allowed for 6 months? Second question, what about government, which is governments that are offering Wi-Fi for free to consumers? Will they be allowed to differentiate on Wi-Fi services?
No, put it this way, that you see this Wi-Fi for the consumers, it's not differentiating. See, please understand that differentiation will mean that you are differentiating between site A and site B. If any agency is giving free to every site, that's not differentiation.
Right.
So therefore, the question you should.
Let me clarify, sir. So suppose through Wi-Fi they are offering only website access and not allowing access to video or making calls or chatting on using those Wi-Fi services. Will that be allowed?
No, that's not a question of that. Basically, the question is what kind of, it has to be looked into the, in a situation. This is an example which you are giving, and we will have to consider what this example is. But essentially what we are saying is that you should not differentiate on the basis of a site or application or destination. That's the broad part. Now, yes.
The first question, sir, ARCOM and free basics.
No, as we said, anything which is now within the coverage of this particular thing will have to go.
So 6 months time is there?
No, that's not.
That is free voucher or something. That is true. suppose somebody has taken a package or voucher for 3 months or 4 months, something differential, that will be validity up to that only.
Yeah, that's right.
Prashant Mukherjee from New Indian Express.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know if apart from after this, even after these regulations, if there's any operator goes ahead with their plans, are there any penalties which you will be forcing on them?
Yeah.
What are the penalizations?
If you read the regulation, what is the section? Section 5, Regulation 5 of these regulations prescribes that the consequences of contravention of these regulations. So essentially it says that there will be a financial disincentive, an amount of ₹50,000 for each day of contravention, subject to a maximum of ₹50 lakh. Now, of course, it is also provided that no order for such kind will be given unless the operator has been given an opportunity of being heard. Yes, please. Yeah.
So I'm Sankar from Reuters. What were the arguments that were taken into consideration as part of the consultation process with respect to allowing or disallowing differential prices?
There is actually a very detailed explanatory memorandum which is attached with the regulations, and I had requested, have you circulated that?
Yes.
That has been circulated, so you please have a copy. It's also uploaded on our website, which essentially gives the summary of the proposals and the views and thoughts which were expressed as a result of the consultation, and then it gives analytical framework from economic point of view, from public policy perspective, from the technology point of view, and then the rationale for the choices which the authority made.
So can the service provider challenge these regulations?
That's a very obvious question, and I don't really need to answer. Obviously, there's a rule of law in our country, and everybody is free to challenge these in the appropriate court or competent court of law. So that's given.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I just wanted to understand.
Can you introduce yourself?
Pankaj Jowal from Times of India. I just wanted to understand that broadly you are saying that zero-rated platforms are not allowed in this country. This is what you mean by this?
Yes, certainly, but zero rate is only one particular example of differentiated pricing or the discriminatory pricing, as we are now saying. Yeah. Zero rate is just one instance of it.
Can you give other instances like what?
Yeah, there can be 50% rating, for example. You can say that I'll charge half the rates for these sides and full rates for the other side, or you can give I'll charge twice the rates, because it can be so essentially differentiated on the basis of source, destination, application, or the content. This is what we call the discretionary pricing.
In terms of speed also, sir?
Just a minute.
Broadly, what are the benefits that you think will come to the market because of this, to the consumers, to the
I think we have given a very detailed explanatory memorandum, and I will request you and I'll encourage you to please go through that, so that provides all these reasons and rationale for taking this decision.
सर मैं लक्ष्मण CNBC आवाज से ये आपने जो सेक्शन 6 जो चैप्टर 3 में लिखा है, जो 2 साल के बाद हम इसको रिव्यू करेंगे
जी, और
जरूरत पड़ा तो इससे पहले भी रिव्यू करेंगे। अगला सवाल कि 2 साल कितनी छोटी अवधि क्यों, और इससे पहले कौन से ऐसे हालात हो सकते हैं जिसकी वजह से आप रिव्यू करेंगे?
देखिए लक्ष्मण जी, ये दुनिया बदलती हुई दुनिया है, टेक्नोलॉजी की दुनिया है, और इस दुनिया में टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट जो है कुछ शब्दों को हमने सुना भी नहीं था, हमारी वोकैबुलरी में वो शब्द नहीं थे शब्दकोश में, और आज वो शब्द बड़े जोर शोर से हमारे शब्दकोश में हैं और बच्चा उन शब्दों को जानता है। तो इसलिए 2 वर्ष का समय बहुत बड़ा, छोटा समय नहीं है। 2 वर्ष का समय टेक्नोलॉजी के स्पेस में बहुत बड़ा समय है, और हम लोगों ने कहा है कि इसका इफेक्ट हम देखेंगे, और ये तो नेचुरल कोर्स में है। हमको लगता है हम लोगों ने ये निर्णय भी TRAI में लिया कि जितने भी रेगुलेशंस TRAI ने इशू किए हैं अब तक, उन सबको हम एक साथ रिव्यू करें, एक बार रिव्यू करें और देखें कि उनमें से कौन से आज भी प्रासंगिक हैं, कौन से आज प्रासंगिक नहीं हैं, किन्हें हमें अपडेट करने की ज़रूरत है। तो इसलिए ये एक नॉर्मल चीज़ है, ये कोई एक्सेप्शनल नहीं है। आपको याद होगा जो कॉल ड्रॉप की रेगुलेशंस थी, उस रेगुलेशन में भी हमने कहा है कि 6 महीने के बाद हम इसको रिव्यू करेंगे। तो एक रिव्यू की प्रोसेस एक बहुत नेचुरल प्रोसेस है और इससे TRAI अपने आप को एक प्रकार से बांध रहा है कि हम केवल इसको ऐसे ही नहीं चलने देंगे, ज़रूरत पड़ेगी तो हम इसको रिव्यू करके इसमें और तब्दीली की आवश्यकता होगी तो हम उसको करेंगे।
मैं इसको थोड़ा सा अलग तरीके से पूछूं, आपका कंसल्टेशन पेपर में तीसरा जो हिस्सा था कि जो जरूरतमंद है, जो अभी इस सुविधा को नहीं पा रहे हैं आर्थिक तंगी की वजह से, दूसरी वजहों से, उनके लिए कुछ ऑल्टरनेटिव देखा जाए। इस रेगुलेशन का आपने मनाही एक तरह से की है, लेकिन उसको कैसे फैसिलिटेट कराएंगे, इसका कब तक? देखिए,
हम लोगों ने उसके लिए बिल्कुल मना नहीं की है। हमारा रेगुलेशन सिर्फ इस बात पर केंद्रित था और हमने ये एक्सप्लेनेटरी मेमोरेंडम उसमें आप पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें बहुत सी बातें आप पाएंगे। हम केवल निषिद्ध कर रहे हैं उस चीज़ को कि टेलीकॉम सर्विस प्रोवाइडर, जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर हैं या ISPs हैं, वो पैकेट के आधार पर, कहाँ पैकेट कहाँ से आया है, कहाँ जा रहा है और क्या उसमें है, उसके आधार पर भिन्न नहीं कर सकेंगे प्राइसेस को, टैरिफ को। ये हमने कहा है। ये हमने कभी नहीं कहा है कि कोई और व्यवस्था नहीं हो सकती, ऐसा हमने नहीं कहा है। और ये बेसिकली एक निषेधात्मक रेगुलेशन है उस सेंस में कि क्या चीज़ प्रतिबंधित है और क्या चीज़ अलाउड है, ये इस तक सीमित है। बट आपकी बात सही है और एक्सप्लेनेटरी मेमोरेंडम में बहुत सी चीज़ें हमने लिखी हुई हैं। Can you please introduce yourself?
Sir, so in your view, do you think that large internet companies do not have a role in, bringing more people on internet?
No, I am not making any comment on that. In fact, I have not made comment in any of the large internet companies. What the domain of TRAI is to regulate the telecom service providers and internet service providers, and we are essentially laying down these regulations for them. We have no kind of domain or authority on the internet companies. Yes, sir.
Why the change of differential pricing into discriminative pricing? Why it's like Facebook changing internet offer to free basic?
No, it's not like.
What was the idea?
See, if you had participated in the consultation which took place, I think on what date?
21st January.
21st January. This whole issue of differential pricing actually was confused. And everybody was saying, why should differential pricing be? Differential pricing is a part of the business strategy of everybody. So why should I offer a discount of 5% to somebody. I offer, let's say from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning, I offer data free. So differential word actually was, though it was quite contextual, in the regulation, in the consultation paper we had issued, but it is understood and misunderstood in a very larger context. So therefore, to differentiate, we actually thought of this, and we gave this definition of discriminatory pricing. Just a minute.
Asim from G Business. तो एक बड़ा बेसिक सवाल है, काफी लोग अभी भी अनकनेक्टेड हैं और एक फ्री बेसिक एक जरिया हो सकता था उनको अगर फ्री कनेक्ट करने का, लेकिन अब ये बंद हो गया, तो किसी और तरह का हम दे सकते हैं कि ट्राई की तरफ से कोई नीचे के उनको कनेक्ट करने का?
देखिए हमने अपने जो एक्सप्लेनेटरी मेमोरेंडम है उसमें बहुत स्पष्ट किया है कि ये जो लॉजिक है और ये आर्ग्यूमेंट है कि कोई पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम कनेक्ट करता है, ज़्यादा पहनता है, ये आर्गुमेंट भी हमने पूरी तरह से उसमें डील किया हुआ है। आप उसको पढ़ें और आप उसको देखें, उससे पाएंगे कि जो हमारा रैशनल और लॉजिक है उसमें कितनी दम है।
आगे चल के कुछ और हम देख सकते हैं कि कनेक्ट करने के लिए फ्री डाटा कंज्यूमर को या कुछ और?
देखिए ये बहुत सारे दूसरे तरह के पॉलिसी इश्यूज हैं और वैसी चीज़ें हैं, वो अलग विषय है। अब फिलहाल हम लोग जो बात कर रहे हैं आज इस रेगुलेशन के बारे में और इस विषय के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें जो हमने निर्णित किया है या जो रेगुलेशन इशू किया है, इसी के बारे में हम लोग। आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं?
नहीं, आई थिंक आपने कवर कर लिया। सेम चीज़ कहना चाह रहे, कहीं रोका तो नहीं है फेसबुक के लिए या सॉरी इसके लिए टू एक्सेस बेसिक इंटरनेट, नोबडी हैज स्टॉप्ड। अगर एक ऑपरेटर सबको देना चाहे फ्री तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है उसमें।
एक क्वेश्चन
देखिए, या मॉलिशरी, यस।
So,
I'll come back to you.
telcos cannot differentiate on the basis of source, destination, or content and application. What about the network speed?
Network speed. This is, you see, a larger issue. Let me put it this way. People had said that net neutrality is a larger question, and we had not gone into that question. Though I must admit, and we have said in our press note also, that differential pricing is looking at net neutrality from a tariff perspective. But net neutrality has a number of other components, which is fast lane, throttling, differentially treating the packet in terms of speed and other kinds of things. So this is not a part of this order or the regulation. Sorry. Yeah.
So would you, just adding to the question Nadia from Facebook TV, would you be looking at other aspects of net neutrality also, because as a country if we have a paper on net neutrality as a whole, would you be looking at something like that?
At this point of time, I'll not be able to say anything on that issue, right? Yeah, we will cross the bridge when we come to it. When we have such an occasion arises, we'll take a call on that.
So one question, sir. What about companies that create their own content and then they price it, cheaply, compared to others? They price it at a discount. So supposing I am a Reliance or Airtel, I make my own content.
But I'm a Reliance Jio, for instance.
Jio.
I create my own content and then I have...
Just a minute. Let him, I'll answer that question.
It's the same thing, that if a Jio creates its own content and then it prices it at a discount to the market, would you allow that or not?
I have said very clearly, and it is for you to figure out as to what it is, whether allowed or not. Anything on internet cannot be differentiated on the basis of source, destination, content, application, or we are just limiting ourselves to that. We have no jurisdiction on other issues. We are talking of this internet only. So your part is, if it is something on internet, then you can't differentially price it. If it is not on internet, we have already created a closed network definition there, which is we are not concerned with that.
No, but if it prices its own content at a discount to the market,
let's not get confused. What I'm saying is, our position, our discriminatory pricing regulation essentially says anything on internet cannot be differentially priced, and that should be clear enough to you can have many consequences will arise, and I am not going to in those consequences, but we are making a very clear statement in this, that anything and everything on internet cannot be priced differentially on the basis of source, destination, content or application.
So Marcy from Business Standard. Sir, in line in the same question, I want to ask, if the government decides to give such kind of services, such kind of things through BSNL or MTNL for that instance, so would that be allowed, or same regulations will apply to them also?
I think the telecom service providers are...
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.